And yeah, welcome to everybody. I think it's myself. Hi, Andres.
Could we also mute our microphones when we're not speaking because it makes it very loud?
So maybe we could just go and have a very quick introduction to everyone that's here, just to very quickly go through what we've been up to and any updates from our side, and then we'll get into discussing the market assessment for Ethiopia and how that can form a methodology for a market assessment, which is the point of this working group. So maybe I'll start with a quick introduction. Since we last spoke, myself and Kostas have been out to Ethiopia. We conducted the pilot project in the Jijiga area of the Somali region of Ethiopia. We ran a course which took about a week and then another week to install the wind turbine. It was a 300-watt machine that was used in a rural area of the Somali region. It's not connected to the grid currently, and it was an off-grid system with batteries for a shop, and the shop is using it for mobile phone charging, lighting, and is going to be included a refrigeration unit. So the project was successful. We struggled a bit to get the materials in time, and the facilities at the university were quite basic, but we managed to get everything done. And that's phase one of the project. So phase two will be run in April and May time, and we'll be building a further 2 wind turbines. And part of the project is to conduct this research of whether wind turbines are suitable for Ethiopia, and if so, what delivery or business models are going to work best, and how and conducting a market assessment for the locally manufactured wind turbines in Ethiopia. So this has already been started, and we've got the document, which I think you can see here. I've already sent this round and had some feedback from it. The idea of today maybe is to go through this. I know John and John have both sent some feedback, so maybe we could discuss the feedback. And as this is the first consultancy project that's done by Wind Empowerment, the idea is to get some feedback so that it can be completed in the next month or so and delivered, and also to see to use it as a basis for other projects where market assessments for small wind turbines can be used, and what can be kept from this report, and what should be changed. So I don't know if you want to go around and quickly introduce yourself and say what you've been up to, and if you have any comments on the report, and then we can get into talking over it. John, do you want to start?
I'm not sure if Andres can hear us. I'm just looking in the text here. He says still have no sound. Andres, can you hear us? Because we definitely can't hear him. No. So sometimes people get stuck in the web player and it doesn't seem to work very well there. Does someone else want to go first whilst I'm typing to Andres? John, are you free?
Yeah, sure. So since meeting last time, to be honest, I haven't been too much involved with things that goes in the direction of wind empowerment. I give some feedback on the thesis that Aran is now presenting. Unfortunately, like I told the guys online, that we didn't have any success recruiting any students for the two project proposals that I tried to have as master theses for them. Though I think that some of them might still be useful for this context. So we'll see what we can do with them. The involvement I had the Engineers Without Borders in Tanzania, we are starting, well, we have got quite some wind data now, and it shows that we will not really be able to, I mean, the wind data shows a mean wind speed of 2.7 meters per second, so it makes no real sense. And at the same time, they are getting, they have got a confirmation that they will be put online pretty soon for the grid. But I will compile that kind of information, or the measurements that we have, and have that at least as a report for an internal use with the Engineers Without Borders, and I can also share it here with Wind Empowerment. I think that's pretty much what I have since last.
Great. John, you said when we were in Athens that there was a potential project of doing a market assessment for Somaliland and Tanzania with Engineers Without Borders. Has anything come of that?
For Somaliland, there was a project which was hosted by this university, well, the university here where I'm working. Now, unfortunately, I think they haven't got the financing cleared yet. So that's probably not going to happen as it looks right now. Also, I'm not sure about, they have a cooperation with one of the universities, though the security situation, apart from like at that site in particular, is a bit unstable. So it's a difficult country to work in general.
Yeah, the same in the Somali region of Ethiopia, which is a shame because it's got excellent wind speed and a lot of people without access to electricity. So it's a great place to do a project, but difficult with the security situation.
True.
Yeah.
So I think as it is, well, for me personally, as I'm sort of the one here, I've just got recruited for the MSF. So from spring and onwards, I'll probably be working with them, and also I'll see a bit how things are with the Comet, if I will spend some time together with them as well. But that pretty much means that I will leave Sweden and the university here within a few months. So starting up things that are closely related to the university here might be tricky.
What is the MSF, John?
Doctors Without Borders.
Ah, Médecins Sans Frontières.
Yes.
So are you also a doctor then?
They need a few technicians. They realize.
Okay. Could you just remind me, which university is it you're working at the moment?
It's called Dalarna University. It's a small university college in middle Sweden.
How do you spell it?
Dalarna, it's D-A-L-A-R-N-A, then university.
Okay.
Is there anyone else there that would be interested in continuing small wind, or is there only small wind projects there because you're there?
Well, I think they are mainly into small-scale solar.
Okay.
And to some extent hybrid systems. But I think for the kind of small-scale wind that we are discussing here, it might be difficult to find someone who has time to invest right now. My colleague who would be an option, she is on parental leave until midsummer.
Okay, well, it sounds like you've got quite an exciting next level planned. We can definitely keep you informed of what's happening with the market assessment group.
I will try and keep online.
Yeah.
There might be still things that can be thought about, at least from from a distance.
Okay. Maxime, do you want to introduce yourself and say what you've been up to recently?
Yes, of course. Of course. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you okay.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so I'm Maxime, and so I'm studying economics in Toulouse, in France. At the moment, I'm in India with Jorge Ayarza. Maybe some of them already met them in Greece. And so we are working on a project to develop some small wind turbine water pumping system in the south of Tamil Nadu, which is very windy. And so I've been also in Nepal, and I work with Kimon, and we have been in Jumla. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yes, we have been with Kimon in Jumla, so it's in the northwest of Nepal, and we have done. I mean, the objective was to do a market assessment over there for the wind, and also to develop a project. An electrification project actually in a little village, very remote, which is electrified with a micro hydropower system of 12 megawatt actually. And so all the things over there didn't, happen as we expected actually. So the market assessment was simply cancelled because of some social issues that happened over there, like the women were protesting against the current project. And so Kimon has to face protestation and some village meeting group. And so I suppose I'm here to assist the conference, maybe to get some tips and some clues that, from your experience in Ethiopia. I've been through your report and a few hours back, and it was very interesting, and I got quite good clues for the analysis. But still, maybe I will have some question at the end, because you noticed some remarks about Homer analysis, which is not, which has some default actually, and so maybe we can discuss that at the end. But I will let you continue this conference.
Okay, great. Are you doing a market assessment for water pumps in southern India for Jorge then?
Sorry, can you repeat, please?
Will you be doing a market assessment for Jorge for the water pumping technology in southern India?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
In Tamil Nadu, yes.
Great.
Yeah. And in Nepal, it was for just developing a 1 kilowatt small wind turbine somewhere to get some wind data accessory. But let's say that the most important project that I working on is in India actually, and it's the one I expect to get some fundings at the end.
Okay. Who are you going to get funding from?
Actually, I'm preparing this business plan, this social business plan at the moment. So I'm working both with Jorge and another local organization, which is acting in the Tamil Nadu as a social consultant, let's say. And so my objective is to get some fundings from a big company. Like I would like to ask to EDF, like the ancient national companies in France. I'm sure some of you knows. And so I expect to get a meeting with them and to present them my idea for the social business plan. Actually, it's a big project, and the potential market is in billions of dollars actually.
Well, sounds great. Sounds like a really big project.
Yeah, I think we'll need the cooperation of all the wind empowerment team actually. Okay. Because if you want to know, like, there is like many water pumping system over there. There is actually 23 million water pumping system in all India, but in the South Tamil Nadu, it's one of the most big states, let's say, in terms of agricultural resources. And so yes, actually the potential market in Tamil Nadu is quite big also, and the Indian government is giving some subsidies, but I'm sure you know that in India, subsidies are mostly going in the pockets of the political people, the politician. And so yeah, there is a big market actually, and so that's why I expect to get some big funding from big company, and then together maybe some expert to work on that project. So these experts could come from actually wind empowerment.
Yeah, well, Wind Empowerment are well placed as a network of experts. If you, I suppose, you need to write a description of what skills are needed, and then we can publicise that on the network. And if it helps with the funding bid, we can put Wind Empowerment's name on the bid as well, because it looks there's
But I think let's say that for example, we'll just apply for an experimental project, so like the fundings will not be so big actually.
okay.
But at the end, if the market and the potential is becoming greater, because I mean Jorge is doing actually a small wind turbine.
Yeah.
But compared to what I read about, I mean, for example, your experience in Ethiopia and everything, Jorge is able to do the same kind of system, but at very cheap cost, like it will be $2,000 per kilowatt, and this is very cheap compared to solar actually. And even if you have like the maintenance cost and operating cost and everything, in India it's not so expensive, let's say. So the main issues actually are about social, and so that's why we are collaborating with that organization in Tamil Nadu. I mean, this is basically some people that are living, there since they are very young. They have good relationship with politicians, with big farmers and everything. So the implementing project is very good over there.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm sorry. Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you could make it today. I only told Maxime about this yesterday, so thanks for coming along. I hope this is useful for you, and it's definitely useful for us to hear about what you're doing in India and have done in Nepal. Can I just clarify, when you said the women in the community objected to the installation and the technology had to be uninstalled, was this in Nepal or was this in India?
You mean the social issues that we faced was in Nepal?
Ah, okay.
I can give you a brief. The thing is that like Kimon Sirwan, so I'm sure you know him, decided to implement a project in these little villages. Actually, the objective was to install some rice cooker and to put them in the household and to make them working during the night when the micro hydropower was running and producing electricity, like a dump load actually. And like the woman in the morning will just wake up and get the rice already cooked and everything. So that was very great in terms of social effect, because like the woman didn't have to prepare the rice in the morning, and so that means 2 hours saved in the woman workload. So the thing is that we had only 10 projects 10 systems, for 140 households. The other women from the other households just came around us and were protesting because they wanted the project simply, but it was not possible because it was just a research phase and not a final installation project, I would say. So
okay, so the main reason for objecting was because there wasn't an equal distribution of the access to the energy services. So not all the women had the rice cookers. Did I get that right? Hello? Can you still hear me, Maxime? Can anyone else still hear me?
I can hear you, John.
Okay, I think Maxime might have dropped out for a little while. So
Hey,
should we? Is that Esteban?
yeah, how you doing?
Yeah, I saw you snuck in. How are you?
Hey,
So
Esteban.
we're just doing updates. Do you want to give a brief update on what you've been up to?
Me?
Rodriguez thoughts.
I've been going to the beach,
Okay.
Doing some small courses, like 1.5 day.
Okay.
And,
Just a bit. It's a bit late now. Like the staff is not over there anymore. So can you call back tomorrow morning? Sorry. Alexander, Russian lady. Yes, she's there. You want to talk with her? Okay. Okay.
Maxime, would you be able to mute your microphone, please? Esteban, do you want to get going again?
yeah, no, basically having fun and working on some wind turbines for Parques Nacionales most of the time. So been working with the local mostly. Hello? Am I muted?
Yeah, that was a very quick summary. It sounds like you've been taking a well-deserved break from your busy schedule. Andres, can you hear us okay now? Andres? Okay, I'm not sure if Andres can hear us. I'll go next then. So I've been very busy recently because now I've ended up with 3 jobs this week. So I'm working for Sheffield University, finishing off teaching. I'm working for Wind Empowerment, these 2 days a week that we agreed on at the conference, and then working for Loughborough University for the Low Carbon Energy for Development Network. So this is... Hello?
Sorry.
Maxime, would you be able to mute your microphone when you're not speaking, please? Because there's quite a lot of noise at your end.
Yeah, I know, but no, it's okay, no?
There's someone else talking in the background. If anyone who's not speaking could just press mute on their microphone, it stops any like keyboard noises and other background noises getting into the call, because everyone has background noise. It gets very loud and you can't hear the person who is speaking. Thank you. Okay, yeah. So basically very busy, about to start a new job at Loughborough University for the Low Carbon Energy for Development Network, where it's going to tie in really well with wind empowerment, possibly resulting in a UK-based event on wind energy for development. So exciting stuff on the horizon. Andreas, can you hear us now? Because we can't hear you. Andreas, if you could write something in the text again. I saw that you did say earlier that you can hear me okay, but we can't hear you, unfortunately. Maybe we'll just have to continue, and then if you manage to fix a microphone at some point later in the call, then you could give us an update on what you've been up to. Okay, so Andreas says to me, it seems like his mic doesn't work. So, Andreas, I'm afraid you may just have to listen. If you could type into the box what you've been up to, and then I'll paste that into the minutes. That would be great. Thank you. Aran, do you want to continue on?
Yeah, I think we've had an update from everyone, I suppose, and I'll talk briefly about this this market assessment for Ethiopia, and then I suppose we can get some feedback. I've got a document with your comments, well, comments from both of the Johns. Maybe we can go through a couple of those comments, and then have a discussion about what this report needs and how this can form into a methodology for a market assessment to be applied to other areas and other projects such as this wind pumping. So I think I've shared my screen, so you should be able to see this draft here in Word.
Yeah, I can see it.
If everyone can see it. So yeah, the project is for Mercy Corps, an NGO funded by USAID. They work in a lot of the countries around the world, but in Ethiopia specifically, they work in the Somali district, which is in the east, the Afar, which is in the north, and the Oromia district, which is in the south. And they focus a lot on income-generating activities for pastoral communities. And they're interested in the wind turbine project as a way of developing incomes in pastoral communities, through creating jobs. So the idea is that we can create some jobs for people who are building wind turbines, installing them and maintaining them. But also there's been a focus on productive uses of energy, which is using the wind turbine to produce electricity, which can be used in a way where people can earn money to increase the livelihoods. So yeah, there's not been so much on those in this report, and that's something that needs to be included. So there's contents and a list of figures.
Aaron,
Yes.
just a quick comment, Esteban here. I remember when we were working with Blue Energy in Nicaragua that there was one of the areas of the NGO was productive uses of energy, because the target was the same, and different ideas came out, water pumping or cooling for the fish, because they were mainly fishermen, or well, I can't remember all of them, but there's probably reports and stuff and documents on different ideas that came out and why some of them wouldn't work. So I think that could be useful.
Is this in a report form?
I guess it should be. I can ask Matthias, or you can ask yourself, or I can do it if you want. There's probably reports on it. I worked partly on it, but I know it continued after I left Nicaragua, so there must be more information than the one I remember.
Okay. Yeah, I mean the idea is that if you've got a steady income from the turbine, then that income can be used to pay back the initial cost of the turbine and also the maintenance fees.
Yeah, that was exactly the goal.
Yeah.
In Nicaragua.
Yeah. But it's challenging when there's no electricity. So for 80% of the people in Ethiopia and I think about 90% of the people in the Somali region, there's no electricity, and so it's finding a business that's already using electricity that you can replace. So ideally, you want to find a business that's running off a diesel generator, because then the electrical system's already installed, and then you can just replace the diesel generator with a wind turbine. But unfortunately, that's not the case. A lot of people just don't have electricity, and there's very few businesses. So it's a case of like starting the business and the electricity at the same time, which is a bigger project really, and it's a lot more difficult. For example, because a lot of the people are pastoralists, they work with milk, and one of the suggestions was to have a wind-powered communal fridge where farmers can store their milk for 3 to 5 days, which means they can get they can produce a lot more milk and get it to the market, similar to Nicaragua, I suppose, storing the fish.
Yeah, it was the same.
Sorry?
Yeah, it was exactly the same with the fish. The idea was a communal fridge.
Yeah. But then in the startup costs, you need to pay for the wind turbine, the electrical system, and the fridges as well, and set up the business to store the milk or the fish, which isn't impossible, but it's challenging. It's like a bigger project basically.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Well, I'll continue going through the report, and we can come back to productive uses. There's a background and an introduction to energy access in Ethiopia. I think it's nice just to set a scene for how many people have got access to electricity, and also putting a context for what the government's doing about energy access. In Ethiopia, the government's quite strong. They used to have a communist government, but it's not communist anymore, but it's still most of the GDP is spent within the government. So any projects that are going to have wide-scale impact, the advice that we got is that the government need to be involved, and these sort of things should probably be set out in the introduction. Over here is the strategy and the trends of renewable energy, talking a bit about mini grids, and the difference between productive use of energy here and communication and education, and how the quality of life can be increased with mobile phone charging and lights, which most people want, but the economy can only really grow if there's this productive use of energy, and why that's the focus. An introduction to the viability of wind power in Ethiopia, and the advantages and disadvantages of locally manufactured wind turbines, which I'm sure all of you know about. And then, of course, the Hugh Pigott wind turbine, which is just to introduce the technology to anyone that doesn't know about it. I've put also some applications and some case studies. John suggested that these should maybe go in the appendix, but I thought it was quite good just to have some examples of what has been successful in other parts of the world. For example, WindGen in Kenya is just across the border, and they're selling as a commercial company up to 1 kilowatt wind turbines to tourist lodges or people that can afford them. Whereas I Love Wind Power in Tanzania, which is also in East Africa, is using more of an NGO model. Or sort of a mix between an NGO and a company, which Roland was talking about. So I just put that in to include what other people are doing to get some ideas.
Could I just chip in there and on the experiences in Kenya?
Sure.
So I think it's as important to reflect on the negative experiences as it is to highlight the positive ones. So I know there's been a really interesting document put together, like a project done by a student at TU Delft in the Netherlands, on basically a market assessment for small wind in Kenya. It was quite different to the market assessment that you've done. Yours is very technically focused, hers is very social focused, so it had the other kind of side of the story. It was done almost entirely on expert interviews. So she talked to WindGen and a few other wind empowerment members, Access Energy, I can't remember who else, members of the government, basically all of the relevant stakeholders for small wind in Kenya, to find out what the current state of the market was and what the future potential of it were. I don't know whether you've put a mention of that in the document now, but I think when I read it before it was not referenced. But I think it is really important, since it is a neighbouring country, to learn from the experiences that have happened in Kenya, because I know they had big problems with out-of-order turbines due to the maintenance issue.
Okay. Do you know what else was the main conclusions? Is small wind suitable for Kenya or not?
It's been a while since I read it now. I think what they concluded were that it is a technology that could be viable, but the lack of government incentives and out-of-order turbines creating a bad impression for future projects meant that it's still quite limited and is likely to stay that way for the foreseeable future unless an intervention is made.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's a good point to include experiences in other countries. I don't think there's been, well, yeah, there's been some experience in Kenya and Tanzania. I think the other neighbouring countries has not been much in Somalia or South Sudan, and I don't think there's been any small wind even in the north like Egypt, but it'd be worth finding out. Okay, so those first pages set the background, set the scene, and give an introduction to why we're thinking about small wind turbines in Ethiopia. And the method set out here basically analyzes a lot of different parameters, answering these questions. Let's see if we can get this out the way, up into the corner. Where the wind resource is, where do people without access to electricity live, looking at how competitive the other generation technologies are, like solar, hydro or diesel, what are the barriers facing the technology, and mainly, because it's a market assessment, what are the costs, I suppose. So this is not a comprehensive, but it's the start of a list of all the parameters that need to be investigated, and I think this is maybe the basics of a market assessment methodology, and for each one of these parameters we need to find, well, firstly, what is the information that we need, where can we find that information, whether we can find it online or whether we have to find it in the country if we have to actually go there, how we need to analyze the information, and then how we need to present it, which this report does. So the first is the wind and solar resource, and we'll go into that in a bit of detail, and the other energy, which is diesel costs found in country. The transport network affects the operation and maintenance costs and is quite important. What the energy is going to be used for, and that's very important, and that needs to be quite specific because it can change the economics of the project quite significantly. That's the load profiles. And then other economics such as interest rates on loans for starting up a business, and these other ones that are related to the country, such as the safety and the travel danger, as John was saying about earlier, which is an impact in the east of Ethiopia. Government's interventions such as tax and import duty, and then in this case we're looking to set up a business, and we need to take those costs into consideration. The business costs, how much it costs to manufacture and install a wind turbine, as well as the material costs. And then, as we know, wind turbines use a lot of maintenance, and what are the costs of these maintenance, failure rates and operation, and then the electricity grid and supply chain, sort of the infrastructure available in the country to support the wind turbine ecosystem, so to speak. So with this method, we've modeled different technologies, wind turbine, solar panel and diesel, and we've used different aspects and different parameters to put them into HOMA to analyze the cost. So the first aspect we went through is the wind resource, and there's quite a lot of information online to get national wind resource statistics, and these are all from IRENA, which has got a great interactive tool. It's free and it's online, and you can choose your country, and there's different wind maps that you can have a look at. This one's 3-tier, which is at 80 meters, which gives a good overall indication of where the wind is. The other one is MERA, which is at 50 meters, which is getting a bit closer to where small wind turbines will be installed, but they're still quite far away. Ours are at like 10, maybe 20 meters. And so this vortex, I don't think it shows the height, but that's a bit closer. But the one that was most useful was this Senna map, which is an estimation of the height at 10 meters. So it gives a good overall indication of where in the country there's going to be wind. For example, in the west here, it's very unlikely to be any sites that are good for wind. And in the eastern region, in the Somali region, there's a lot of good wind. And in the middle, it's changeable, so it's worth investigating. Just to point out, this is the Somali region where Mercy Corps works. This is the Afar region up in the northeast, and this is the Oromia region. So part of the project this time was to install data loggers built by the Wind Measurement Group, and we've installed one with the turbine that we built in Jijiga, which is here, and we've installed one in the Afar region in Samara, which is up here, and we've sent one down to the Oromia region, and we're going to be getting monthly wind speed data from this. It's not going to be extremely good quality. The anemometers that we used were three pounds each. However, they're going to give us a good indication. If after 2 months we get data back from the Afar region and it's similar to what you said, John, in your Tanzania, if it's 2.2 to 3 meters per second, we'll probably say that this area isn't good and we should move it to another area. If it's between 4 to 5, then will be very interested in monitoring it more and doing a project there. And the wind speed that we get from the turbine that we've installed will tell us how much energy the turbine is going to be producing, and that can help us form, if they want to add to the system or add any loads, it'll be useful. So part of this report, we need to include wind data. Unfortunately, it's only going to be maybe 1 or 2 months, maybe 3 months wind data before we submit the report in May. But it'll be an ongoing project, and the more wind data we can get, the better the information will get. So that's the first section, which is the wind resource. And the first conclusions is that the Somali region is good, the Oromia is mixed wind speeds, and the Afar is pretty low. So that's why we're doing the monitoring. Other things to consider is the altitude. John's graph here shows that as you go above sea level, the density of air decreases and the power there's a reduction in the power of the wind. And in Ethiopia that's particularly relevant because the country goes from underneath sea level in the depression here, the Denekil depression, up to about 3,500 meters. So important to take into consideration. Homer needs some other parameters such as the Weibel K, which we've found from research from other research projects that have actually measured it in different parts of the country, Addis, Mekelle, Adama and Debrecen. And if you're doing a national survey in Homer, you just have to pick one because you can't really change it, unfortunately. The other aspect is the variation with height. So this data map shows the wind speed at 10 meters above sea level, and we're modeling towers at 12 meters. We built 12 meters, so it's not going to change it very much, but it does change it a little bit. And you use these log laws to, if you know the wind speed at a certain height and you want to know it at another height, you can use these log laws to estimate the wind speed at a higher height. And this is the updated table for that. The other parameter is the solar resource, and the solar actually changes quite significantly throughout Ethiopia, very high in the north, less so in the west, and mixed in the east. And another thing to consider is how the wind and the solar vary. So for 14 locations that I've chosen across Ethiopia, I've got the seasonal profile for the wind and the seasonal profile for the solar. And for most of the locations, the wind and solar resource are complementary. So it's high in the summer for the wind and low in the winter, and that's complementary. There's a few sites where it's not, but where the pilot project is, this is from number 10, I think, which is close to where we did the pilot project, which means that wind and sun work well together. Okay. The other input is the diesel cost, and this has been rising pretty steadily. It'd be good to get an updated figure because I know oil prices have started to decrease in the last year or so, but generally over the last 5 to 10 years they've been increasing quite steadily. And you need to estimate the cost of diesel and also see how much you think it's going to increase in the next 3 or 5 years, and you can put that as a sensitivity value in Homer. Okay, any questions so far? Okay. Okay, so the next aspect is the cost of building and installing a wind turbine. We spent a week buying materials in Ethiopia. These costs were from the original pilot project in 2013, and we just spent a week buying all the equipment. So we're going to update these costs. This is for a 1 kilowatt. The project this time we did was a 3-meter turbine, so 700 watts. So it'd be quite useful to have the costs for different size turbines. It might be that a lot of the bigger size turbines might be too expensive. If in rural areas the main productive use is mobile phone charging, which seemed to be the main need of energy where we were, 1 kilowatt might be just too much, in which case a smaller 1.8 machine might be more useful. And so it'd be great to update these costs for the cost of different size turbines, everything from a small one up to a 1 kilowatt one. And this was basically done through shopping. So this was done in country, going shopping. It's a bit difficult when we're doing the shopping. The guys sometimes see a white face or a Ferengi face and up the cost a little bit. And I don't know if there's anything we can do about this apart from getting local guys to buy the parts. It's a bit tricky when you've got 1 week to buy all the materials to get accurate prices. Ideally you want someone in country that's can spend a long time getting different quotes from different suppliers to get the cheapest prices. And it also is affected by how many you buy. So batch production, if you're buying a lot of steel, for example. Another aspect which is going to change the price is import tax. I brought the magnets, the charge control circuit, the dump loads, and 20 of Hugh's manuals, recipe books in my bag, and got stopped at customs. They confiscated all of my stuff, and I had to go and rescue it, and ended up paying about 10% of the invoice cost in tax. Now, if we'd been more planned and we'd had letters from the NGO, it would have been tax-free. But we did quite well because it could have been 30% tax. I think it depends on who's in the customs office and what they deem your equipments to be used for as to what price they charge. And we got away with 10%. But it's something to consider, because in the short term at least, charge control circuits and magnets will have to be imported, and they'll be subject to an import tax, and also transport costs. And although it's quoted as a locally manufactured, there are some aspects which you can't buy locally. So the costs of the turbine, the costs of the electrical system, the cost of the tower, and included sensitivity values for an increase in cost of materials, and also an increase or decrease in tax. And the 3 graphs here show the distance to site that the installation is. So this is modeling the fact that if the installation site is further away from where the turbine is manufactured, you'll have higher transport costs, and the costs will generally increase. The other important factor is operation and maintenance, which comes as a factor in HOMA, how much the yearly costs are. And this was taken from Blue Energy report of the components that fail: diversion controller, bearing, generator, how long the lifetime is, and that's normalized to the cost per year to give an annual cost for materials divided through the lifetime. And then you also need to put in the cost of technicians visiting the site. And once again, this varies quite a lot with the distance to the site. And if the turbine is sited a long way away from where it's made, then the cost will increase. You do the same for the costs of the PV, the batteries, the inverter, and diesel generators, because these are all the technologies that you're modeling. And you put that into HOMA. This is an example system schematic which is very similar to what we installed without the diesel generator. There's an input for the diesel generator if we need, but a wind turbine, solar PV and hybrid with a charge control circuit and a DC bus.
Sorry, did you model that? I mean, the drawing, did you do it on Homer as well, or is there specific software to do that?
The drawing,
Yeah.
that was just done in AutoCAD, I think.
What?
This drawing,
Yeah.
yeah, the drawing was just done in a CAD
AutoCAD,
package, I think, AutoCAD.
Okay.
Yeah.
I find it very clear and easy. Photo.
Okay. So the other important input is the load profiles, and these were just researched online for productive uses of energy for a commercial centre that's using lighting, fan, refrigerator, a barber, and a beauty shop appliance, and we've got the load profiles here for when things are switched on and when things are switched off. And this is a typical shop, I suppose, so productive use of energy. While we were on site, we did some research into load profiles. There's only one shop, and he's not using much energy at the moment. He's got a solar system, a solar home system that's used for lights and mobile phone charging, and he's charging people to charge their phones. We did some load profile research into the people that are living in the village, and the majority are using energy for. There's about 5 solar home systems in the village, and they're all using it for mobile phone charging and lights. We included some questions about how much do you spend on energy, and there's some quite interesting results about how much they're currently spending on kerosene for lighting, how much they're spending on batteries for torches, and how much they're spending on the solar systems, which gives an indication of their ability to pay or their willingness to pay. And there were some questions at the end about how much would you be willing to spend on additional energy. And we got some figures, but I'm not too sure if they understood the question, because it's quite a tricky one. And the other question was, what would you use energy, if you had more energy in your house, what would you use it for? And most of the responses were mobile phone charging, lights, and TV. So in a village like this, if there's a wind turbine connected, it would be able to provide energy for maybe 10 to 15 of the houses, if it was just lights and phone charging. And I imagine if we go back to the system in 6 months to a year, that's probably what would have happened, is people would have connected additional cables to the inverter. I mean, we told them not to. We told them that it's just for the shop, but I imagine that's what would have happened, and that's fine in a way. But you need to think about the business model for how that's going to be paid for. If people want a light and the phone charging, how they can pay for that and how that's monitored. At the moment, the turbine's owned by the NGO Mercy Corps, and it's set up as a research experiment. The NGO will be collecting money from the shopkeeper, but it's not confirmed how much, and we're trying to get an idea of how much additional income he can get from the power that the wind turbine is giving him. And the students are going to be going back and doing research with the shopkeeper to find out how his income has changed since the wind turbine, if he's now charging more mobile phones, and whether he's selling refrigerated drinks and getting more customers. And that additional income that he can get ideally should go back to paying for the maintenance for the turbine and for the original cost. So the load profiles are very important, and finding a productive use of energy such as refrigeration or somewhere that someone can earn money from is quite important. When you put it into Homer, it asks for some added random variability because the electricity is not going to be used exactly uniformly each day, and it changes seasonally as well. So that gives the inputs for Homer. So Homer is a great program. You can input many different parameters, and it analyzes lots of different sort of sensitivity values and also optimization results. And when you're doing it on a national scale or a regional scale, the interesting graph that comes out is this one. Over the country, the solar resource will be changing and the wind speed will be changing. So this graph outputs for wind speed along the bottom and for solar along the top, which is the optimal system. And the 4 different systems that they've monitored and analyzed is just a generator, a PV and a generator, a wind turbine and a generator, and a wind turbine, a PV and a generator. So where the wind speeds are low and the solar is high, in this area it's just a PV and a generator. In the middle is a hybrid system, and when the wind speeds are high and the global solar is low, the wind in a generator system is most optimal. And where both are low, that's when the just a generator system is most optimal. So you can sort of see from these graphs that at this stage here, which is quite a high wind speed, 5.5 meters per second, anywhere in the country where there's 5.5 meters or above, it'll always be economical to include a wind turbine. Now John made a good point that there's not many areas that this 5.5 is applicable. It's quite a high wind speed. So it's worth looking at the global solar as well, because anything lower than 4, the wind turbine is never economical, just about. But anything in between, you need to look at the solar and the wind to find out which is best. So,
sorry, Aaron, the blue is just a wind turbine or wind turbine plus generator?
Everything, there's a generator included for backup.
Okay.
So the black is just a generator, the blue is, yeah, wind turbine and a generator.
Right, thanks.
And in Homer it's useful because you can include the sensitivity values. And this graph here shows with the sensitivity values for the material costs and the cost of the wind turbine, this is the cheapest, and this is the most expensive, which is 1.4 times the original cost. And you can see that changes the graph, so the wind speed is now 5.9 for a wind turbine to be optimal. That just basically makes the wind turbine more expensive if the cost multiplier capital is high, and it means that there's more areas of the country where the just a PV system is more economical. So that changes it slightly. It changes the cutoff from 5.5 to 5.9 or something. But what's more interesting is the operation and maintenance. If you remember the graph from operation maintenance, the cost multiplier goes anything from 1 up to 2.5. And this is related with how far the distance is between the site of the installation and the site of manufacture. And you can see that if the site is very far away, the operation and maintenance costs are extremely high, it gets to the point where PV is always more economical no matter how high the wind speed is. So even if the wind speed is 7 meters per second, if you have a high operation and maintenance cost, then it's always economical to have PV. So the final one is the diesel price, and if the diesel price increases, wind becomes more favourable basically, and the cutoff for wind speed goes from 5.5 down to 4.5. So interesting to predict what happens if the diesel price increases, which I suppose it's likely to do in the next few years, how that affects the viability of the wind. And I think this final one is the increase in PV cost, which I've said goes from 0.9 up to 1.1. The PV might come down even more. PV has been going down in price quite significantly over the last few years. It might continue to, but it doesn't affect the viability of wind so much. So having done these graphs, which show quite good visually, there's some tables included which give a summary of, for different wind speeds and different solar resources, what the levelized cost of energy is, so that you can compare it, what the renewable fraction is, how often the generator is being used compared to the renewables, and the total net present cost, which takes into account everything that's spent over the lifetime, with a net present value. So that's the HOMA, and then the last part is the GIS mapping. So that's taking the HOMA results for a grid map of Ethiopia, comparing the solar resource with the wind resource, and for each coordinate, looking up what the solar resource is, looking up what the wind resource is, using them as coordinates on our HOMA chart, and plotting for the country what the most optimal system is. So this was done by hand, and yeah, I'd need to, if anyone knows how to use GIS software to use these lookup tables or something to do this a bit quicker, that would be great. But this was done by hand, and the output is economic systems for different locations in Ethiopia. And you can see for the majority it's PV, and wind is not suitable. However, in the south and in the east and in a few pockets, the wind is suitable. And that gives a good idea of where in the country we should analyse in more detail what the regions look like, some other aspects and parameters, such as the electricity grid. This graph shows the electricity grid. You can find it on IRENA, and you can see the windy areas correspond to big areas without the grid. So that's a plus for wind. This graph shows the grid with, this is another study similar to what we've done, but it's saying what's the most economical grid extension, PV or hydro. So this shows where the hydro resources are, and in these areas where the wind is high, off-grid PV is recommended. And this one shows the population density. So in the areas of high wind, there's a relatively low population compared to where the grid is, but there's still a few pockets of high population. And you need to look at these maps in more detail to find out, compare where the high wind speeds are, where the grid is, where the populations are, and these are the areas that you need to target for the wind turbine implementation, which is basically the results of the market assessment. Other few things to consider is any protected areas, which is more a consideration for big wind, but you can't really install wind turbines in protected areas. This graph shows the diesel costs, which is an indication of transportation costs and travel, which is important for the operation and maintenance. And the last one, the travel safety and the danger, and the big red is the areas against all travel, and the big areas of red correspond to big areas of wind, but are currently unsafe to travel. So then, drawing some conclusions and recommendations for next steps with some appendices. So that's what we've got so far. There was some comments I know from John and John, and maybe we should talk through those if anyone's got any comments. John, you need to go soon, so do you want to?
Yeah, yeah. I was just going to say, do you mind if I go first?
Sure.
Okay. Well, first of all, I thought it was brilliant. I really like the document you've done. You've gone into a lot of depth, and Corrego was a much simpler version of this, and you've essentially gone for each of the gaps that we had in our methodology and expanded it and made it much better and added so much more to it. So I'm really pleased that you've been able to produce a much more robust analysis that presents a much stronger argument of where you should and shouldn't use wind in Ethiopia, and if you should use it, then how you should use it. I did have a few questions in addition to the stuff that I'd put in the Word document that I read a while back. But to summarize some of those, I think the two key things that this analysis is missing at the moment are the social factors and the expert interviews. So Maxime mentioned previously about the difficulties that they faced in the project in Nepal because of the unequal distribution of energy throughout the houses in the particular community in which they were working. So I think it's really important to consider things like, for example, the modularity of PV enables you to electrify each house individually, whereas the difficulty in providing individual household wind turbines, in terms of the fact that you have to go down to much smaller scales and require much more open landscapes and much higher wind speeds, means that it's much less appropriate for individual household electrification. That's not to say that it hasn't been done in places like Patagonia, Inner Mongolia, Skoreg, where you've got very high winds and very open landscape. It has worked as a household technology, and in fact these are the places where I've seen the technology be most successful. So I'm not sure exactly what the landscape was like when in the area of Ethiopia where you were just working, but definitely where we were working before near Arba Minch, it was a very inappropriate landscape, lots of trees and very variable topography. What was it like in terms of the landscape?
Yeah, the Somali region is desert basically, so it's very few trees, scrublands, and very open and quite windy. We were on the edge of the wind. Edge of the high winds, but there's sort of like steady. Be interested to see what the logger comes back with, but it's sort of steady winds during the day with higher winds in the evening, and the topography is open with very few trees, so it's quite ideal really.
Yeah, I think that's great to hear that, and I think it needs to be emphasised in the report itself, because that really opens you up to a whole nother market. You can go down to much smaller scales if you've got much more open topography, and you don't have to do a resource assessment in every new site. If you've got open grassland or desert, and your neighbour has a wind turbine and they can power a TV and some lights and a radio, then you know that if you install a wind turbine on the same side of your house, providing there's a predominant wind direction, then you'll probably be able to do the same kind of things with it. You don't need to put up an anemometer. Mm-hmm. Of course, we should put up anemometers on all new projects that we do in all new areas, but thinking long term, they're expensive and it's an encumbrance. You've got to have technical skills to be able to do it, and it takes a good few months to get any useful data out of it. Mm-hmm. Expert interviews. Did you manage to speak to any of the key stakeholders in the area whilst you were out there last month?
We had some interviews with the Mercy Corps staff about their experience of energy use and setting up a business. We got some feedback from the students themselves after doing the wind turbine. After doing the course and finding out what they thought of whether it was a good technology for the area and what would be the limitations. And we had a brief chat with the two main suppliers of PV equipment in Addis, Solar 23 and Ledetco, who are both very interested in the Somali district in terms of expanding their business. And they say that capacity is a big problem and awareness is a big problem. We included in the research questions a couple of questions about awareness. Do you know what a solar panel is, and do you know what a wind turbine is, No one knew what a wind turbine was, and everyone knew what a solar panel was. And a few unexpected points that in the Somali region there's a lot of pirated solar PV coming from China through Somalia without paying any import tax. It's quite cheap. So these guys' solar systems were quite cheap illegal imports from China through Somalia, which is a challenge for it's a challenge for the suppliers of PV equipment because they can't compete on the price, but also the quality of the equipment coming through isn't that good. So people aren't it's not as reliable, so they don't respect it as much. So yeah, could probably do with a few more interviews. There's one guy that we met from the government but didn't have a chance to interview him, but we might be able to do it via email. But it's a good point to include experts, interviews with experts.
Yeah, there were a few other people that we met at the UN conference as well. That guy from Lafto Turbines, what was his name, Stefan or something like that.
Oh yeah.
He seemed very knowledgeable about the context and about where there was likely to be and not wind power, although he works at the large scale.
Mm-hmm.
And there's that other guy, Eric, who worked for one of the universities in the north, but maybe what you would get from him would be quite similar to what you'd get from the people at the college where you did the training course just now, and that would be more relevant and more local information.
Yeah.
Okay, well I'm really glad to hear that you've got some interviews in there, because it is a really important way of getting information from people that are embedded within the context themselves, because it's very easy for us as people coming from a European country to just parachute in and assume a lot of things. It's really important to get the perspective of people who are living and working there. I had a couple of other quick questions. I do have to go quite soon, but if you wouldn't mind, could I just ask those as well?
Sure.
Surveys, you said you asked people what would they do if they had extra energy.
Yeah.
I thought that was a bit of an ambiguous question, because people don't necessarily know what to do with energy if they don't have very much of it or don't have any at all. So if you've never had electricity before, how are you supposed to know what you can do with electricity? Because it's a very abstract concept. It's not like water. Everyone needs water because it's water, because you drink it.
Yeah.
And you wash things with it, whereas energy you only use to provide services. So I thought it might be better to rephrase that one if you were to do any follow-up surveys, and which of these energy services would be of most interest, and then have a list of things that people would commonly do. Like you say, you've got the refrigeration system for milk. So in a sense, telling people these are the things that you could possibly do with this system, and then getting them to rank which would be the most useful for them.
That's a good suggestion. It was trying to get an idea of how much people would be willing to spend on additional energy and what their priorities for energy use is for. But you're right. It's if you've not got energy, it's difficult to imagine what you could. Most of the responses we got back were a reliable source of light, phone charging, and TV. Most people want TV.
Yeah. Were these from people who already had electricity from solar home systems, or people that didn't have access to electricity at all?
There was either people that had a solar home system, or it was neighbours of someone who had a solar home system. So
okay. So it's basically more of what they'd seen or already had.
Yeah, and the closest, the main road is about an hour's walk away, and there's grid electricity there. So they've seen what houses in the main road have.
Okay. Yeah, so I think it's really important, the focus that you've got on productive uses of energy, and I liked what Esteban was saying, and in the chat, John and Andres were adding to that, saying that developing these productive use of energy is something that Comet Me and Blue Energy have focused a lot of time on, and I think it's especially important to think about what people are currently doing and how could they do it better with energy. So I really like the fact that you focused on milk, identifying that as the predominant livelihood, milk production and herding as a predominant livelihoods in that region. But I think further investigation as to how that could improve people's livelihoods, what other energy services could people use, and then asking them, would it be useful doing this? Like the milk, was the refrigeration of milk on that survey that you asked them? I guess it wasn't, because it wasn't, it was only asking if they had extra energy.
Yeah.
And I guess most people weren't using that already. Okay. So the other couple of questions were, one was about the wind map. Which one did you use in the end? Because I know that the GIS that we did in Nicaragua was very sensitive to which wind map we used. There were two quite different ones. Both generally agreed that in the mountains in the central northern highlands and the Pacific coast there was good wind, but there were quite big differences about just how big that band of good wind was, and all of those different wind maps that you've got in there. I think it's really good that you've included so many, but I think it would be good to have a bit more discussion as to which one you chose, why you chose it, and then you've done a great job of the sensitivity analysis for the diesel price, for the remoteness of the community as in the travel time, but I think it would be good to do a bit more on the wind resource itself. I mean, they all seem to generally agree that the eastern part of the country and the southern part of the country is pretty windy, but they're perhaps just in contention as to just how windy that is. And as you can see from the homer plots that you've put in there, there is quite a big variation between, in terms of the optimal system architecture, between whether you have 5.5 meters per second and 4.5 meters per second.
Yeah, we used the Senna map, which was the closest to the hub height that we could find, is 10 meters. What we could do is use another map and use the log laws to see if they correlate and see how well they correlate. The other thing to update is with the real life logging that we've got, which will be in three areas, to see if that corresponds to what the wind maps are saying. But yeah, you're right. In general, just more of a discussion about how sensitive the systems is to different wind speeds, and the effect of, well, the need for having good wind data and the effect of if the wind data isn't quite on.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the log laws are really controversial if you're using them in complex terrain with lots of trees and very varying topography, but if you're in flat desert land, then I think they can be reasonably accurate.
Okay.
So the last one I had was just about the PV price sensitivity. So in Nicaragua we found it made a massive difference, but we were basically comparing between the PV price as it was when we first got the quotes, or was it, I think we compared them for the system that was actually installed in a community. So this was maybe 2 or 3 years before we did our market study, and then we were looking at what is the price for solar, or what was the price when we did the study, and what will it be in a few years' time. And basically we were looking at a halving of the cost of PV in that time span. So what was the difference between the maximum and minimum PV price that you had in that sensitivity?
Not much. It was between 0.9 and 1.2, I think. So maybe.
Why did you choose those values?
I think they were just estimates. I don't think much thought was given to specifically. But I think we've got some PV quotes from last time we went in 2013, and we can compare them to quotes from this year, 2014. So that'll give us a good indication of what the change has been.
Okay, so people like Arena do really good predictions of global renewable energy prices. So there's a report, a cost series, which they've done on different renewable technologies, and they've definitely got one on solar. We've referenced it in the Nicaragua study, and I can send you a copy of that. I'll put that as an action, because that would be a good reference to give you, like you've got for the diesel price. You've got a really nice graph in there showing where diesel price is likely to go in the next few years. It'd be great to have the same thing for solar, because it's basically the major alternative to wind, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, well, I'm afraid I'm going to have to disappear now, which might be good because other people might be able to get a word in edgeways. Can I just ask that you post this up on, upload it onto YouTube and then post it onto the either the market assessment working group, Google group, if we manage to get that technical issue sorted out. In case for anyone else, there is a Google group that exists for the market assessment working group, just like all the other working groups, but we have a technical issue with it at the moment because 2 got created and we need to sort out the permissions for who can use it and adding people to it, etc. So once we've got that sorted out, it'd be great to have this up on there as well. I'm wondering whether it's even worth putting it up in the webinars section, because I mean what we're doing now is basically a webinar. There's been as much detail, if not more detail, as a webinar. What do you think?
Yeah, we could put it up. I mean, there is already a webinar with a presentation about exactly about this, but we could put it maybe as a follow-up if anyone's interested.
Yeah, I think that could work well. Okay, as a comment on the bottom of it.
Yeah.
Just to make sure we get maximum value out of this session, because it's been really useful for me, and I hope it's been useful for other people, and I'm sure there'll be much more interesting questions than the one that I've asked after I've gone as well.
Okay. I'll look at putting it up on the web.
And then final request, can someone take over the note-taking, because I've got to go.
Yeah, I can.
Was that you, Aaron?
Yeah.
You're going to be answering questions, though. I would recommend that someone else do it, otherwise stuff will get lost. Esteban, you used to do a good job of taking notes.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'm waiting where it's going to stop, otherwise I could have done it.
Hello? Hello?
Hey.
Hey, Esteban, go for it.
You can hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can do it, but I'm gonna have to leave in like 15 minutes, so maybe I can do it for the next 15 minutes and somebody can take over then.
Okay, John's got to go soon as well. Who's
Yeah, I've got to go.
John
Now.
or Esteban?
Huh?
John, do you have any questions before you have to
Me?
go?
Yeah, I have a few, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going for it. I was wondering, I can see that there's a very detailed map on the technical aspects, as John mentioned, and maybe not so much on the social aspects. I don't know how you can do one of those. But I was wondering if it could be interesting to have a map on where, for each of those squares in your map, where you can think that home installations are going to be most suitable or most interesting, where productive uses could be implemented, and where something in between, like a center of charge, which is something that has been done in different places, would be the most appropriate installation. Because for those dots that are blue or green, where wind is one of the technologies that might be implemented, it would be also good to know if it's better to install a lot of very small wind turbines, one per home, or a few very large ones for either center of charge or productive uses. So that kind of social map on the needs of energy overlapped with the technical map or about which technology is most suitable in each region, then you have the whole picture, I guess.
It's a great idea. How would you get that data? How would you do a survey of what energy is needed?
Yeah, I think that is way more complicated than the technical aspects, because you don't have a map of that kind of things. But maybe one thing would be, I mean, you definitely have to pick certain parameters, such as density of population, which you already have. So basically in places that are very low, like I can think of some places in Patagonia where you have one home and then 10 kilometers and another home and another 50 kilometers and a different home, and you could never think of a common productive use in that kind of place. So maybe the density of population could be one of the parameters that could be used for that. So also the how big the communities are, because if you have like one community with 50 people or that kind of size of community, then you can think of a center of charge or something more common, or where you have one productive use already identified, you could eventually think of a productive use rather than individual systems. Maybe just to have a quick split between big wind turbines like 1 kilowatt wind turbines or 200 or 350 wind turbines, because they're completely different projects, right, in one or another region. That's something that I am trying to do here, like to identify in different regions which kind of wind turbines would be best, and we have 5 or 6 projects. We're thinking on 5 or 6 projects for the next 3 months, and for some of them we think the most appropriate is the 700 watts wind turbine, and for others we think it's 350. But I haven't really figured out a very scientific way to justify one or another. So it's more of a question than an answer. But I would definitely think that it'd be interesting to have the map of the resource and the kind of technology overlapped with the kind of use that kind of energy would be for. It doesn't seem very easy to do, just a quick idea.
It's definitely a good idea. It'd be tricky though, because you want to sort of get load profiles of energy demand in all of those areas, and the size of the turbine depends a bit on the business model that you're implementing it with as well. But maybe you wouldn't do it on a national scale. Maybe you'd do it on. You'd have a look at one of those squares individually, and in that square you'd do a survey of like a region or a community and see what the energy needs are.
Yeah, maybe that's one way. But if you have like if you already have like a grid map, then you can know which of the squares you are not going to be installing any of those, and I don't know, density of population, maybe think a little bit about other parameters that make you go for one or another. But yeah, definitely within one square would be an easy way to start. And also
Yeah,
the other question.
good.
Sorry, John?
Sorry, go for it.
No, but I was going to change questions. So I'm going
Right, okay, just to follow up then. Yeah, I think it's really important to define what stuff you're doing at a national level and what stuff you're doing at a local level. Because as you say, some stuff, like the productive use of energy, it's only really applicable on a local level because the things that people do to earn a living, the ways of life are so different across a country, especially a country as big and as diverse as Ethiopia.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got to go now. Aran, the PV report is in the minutes. Thanks a lot for the presentation today. I really enjoyed it, and thanks to everyone else for coming along.
Thanks, John.
See you later.
Yeah.
See you soon.
Thanks, John.
Bye, John, and welcome, Isabel.
Thank you. Hello.
Hi, Isabel.
Isabel.
We
So
just
who's taking notes now? Do you want me to take notes for a while?
if you could, Esteban, that would be great.
Where are they? Because I cannot see them. Or we're not taking them online.
I'll post them into the discussions. Isabel, we just talked through the report, and now we're just getting some feedback from it.
Okay.
Esteban, the link should be in the docs.
I'm trying to find it.
John, did you have any questions? Because you said you had to go soon.
Yeah, hi. Well, in principle, I only have two thoughts that came up during your presentation here, and the first one is I think the feedback you will get from the installations that you've now done will be very important for sort of concretizing many of the aspects that you've already dwelled on in the sort of the study that you have here. So that would be, I mean, that was going to be very interesting to see what comes back from that.
What sort of feedback do you mean?
No, like in terms of what happens, how the shopkeeper makes use of the electricity that he now gets, and how that develops sort of for him and for the people around him that actually get possibility to make use of that as well. And I could imagine also that you will sort of see how the turbine is actually performing in here in terms of sort of what type of maintenance that will be needed and so on over the time to come. Well, I don't know exactly what the kind of feedback would be, but I guess sort of the feedback that you will get will probably also verify some of the things that you've written. The other thing that I just had thought about is that the society that you're working with in Ethiopia is very little of it has been exposed to electricity at all before. And it's interesting, well, it's difficult to actually predict what access to electricity will do to the society in the larger scope. I mean, we're talking about productive use, but I mean, at the same time, these societies are extremely fragile, and the effect of getting electricity is not necessarily positive all through. I have no idea how that would be addressed in a study, but I would say that it's a pretty important consideration to have on mind when doing a project in any region. But I think, I mean, those were the only two things that I thought of, and the rest of my comments I summarized in this document that I sent over to you.
Yeah, I've got that document. It's an interesting question. What will be the effect of electricity on the communities? Yeah, not.
I mean, who was it in the beginning of this meeting that mentioned that they had to decommission the turbine because the women didn't want it?
Yeah, Maxime. In Kimon in Nepal. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, maybe, I mean, there's a lot of guessing when trying to address such a question, I suppose, but it does, after all, change quite a bit, and if the society is fragile already from the beginning, then it changed the way people use their time and a lot of social issues within, or social behaviors within a society.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not to mention the introduction of TV.
Yeah, this is one thing we discussed on a philosophical point of view. We're putting in all this work so that villagers can watch TV. The reality of when we were there is the women were doing most of the work and the guys were sitting around chewing chat, and yeah, we wonder whether the introduction of electricity just means that the guys chewing chat will just have some TV to watch while they're chewing chat and some cold drinks to drink while they're chewing chat. But it's yeah, it's an interesting thing to consider, and in terms of wind empowerment, it's something for us to have in the back of our minds. I think that's why it's important projects like this to team up with a local NGO, which we have done with Mercy Corps, and they work with the local communities. They know they know how the social aspects of the local communities, and they have more of a say in like what happens, what's the impact of introducing electricity. So yeah, wind empowerment should be aware of these issues, but I think it's wind empowerment's role maybe to provide the technical expertise and as much information as possible, but also to get feedback from the installations to find out how people's lives have changed.
No, true. No, I guess, I mean, in the end, it's got to be the user who decides what he wishes for, or she wishes for. Anyway, thanks a lot, Aran, and the rest of you. I have to close here and rush off.
Okay. Thanks for your input,
Okay.
John.
We'll keep in touch over email.
For sure. For sure. And good luck with the MSF job.
Yep, thanks a lot. We'll talk before that happens, I think.
Yeah, hopefully.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Maxime, did you have any questions or any comments regarding this method for your market research?
Yes, definitely. I have some question, and I thank you, Esteban, for the remarks he has done before. One of my question will be because actually I've seen that you assess most of the Ethiopia map. So I think that maybe you would like in the future to do a project in a big scale. And so my question is, what is your strategy to implement your first project? Because so social issues are very important, and like in India, I face a lot of difficulties for the first project, which is actually determinant, because if the first project failed, then all the rest and all the studies that you have done before will be for nothing. So, one of the in my opinion, one of the most important tasks when you are doing a market assessment is first to focus on the first project, and then you can assess the overall potential. And you can do both at the same time, but to assess one particular area, to define the first project location and everything, for me is as much important as the overall assessment that you have done already. So actually, what is your answer to this question, and what is your strategy or your idea for the first project, and which will depend a lot on the social issues, and I think because you seem to be very aware about the technical aspect and everything, and also about the resources and the wind, the solar and everything. So your cost analysis, in my opinion, is very good. Even if I'm economist, so I would say that it's okay, but there is a lot of variables that are still not included. So, anyway, yeah. So what is your strategy to implement your first project?
Okay, so you're saying it's important to choose the pilot project where you do it. It's important to choose that very well, because if it doesn't succeed, then it's unlikely that other projects will continue.
Yeah, because if your first project is a failure, then actually, let's say that the news will be spread in all the country and all the region, and people will not trust you anymore. So people will not be willing to take part in your project and everything. So this is also an issue, and also in terms of fundings, it's an issue.
Sure. Well, to start the pilot project, the whole project started with a conversation with Mercy Corps, and Mercy Corps are a well-funded NGO working in Ethiopia that they want to increase the livelihoods of pastoral remote communities in Ethiopia. And we discussed what their work is and what we can offer. Found an overlap in the training courses, and we left it to them to find a pilot project. So we specified that to run the pilot project, we need a place to run the wind turbine workshop. So we need a workshop, and it was our suggestion that we use a technical college, because there's people graduating from the technical college that are in need of jobs, and they also have the resources, the woodwork, the welding, the electrical knowledge. And we said ideally we want to team up with a business centre, or someone that's got skills in business local to Ethiopia. Unfortunately, they didn't find the business experts, but they found us a technical college, and with the students to work in. We also specified that we need an area in good wind. So we showed them the wind map, and we said the Somali region and the southern region was good. And luckily, they were working in Jijiga, which had a high wind region. In terms of the installation, we set out a a specific document which said these are the requirements of the community. So there needs to be a productive use, because that's what we were aiming for. It needs to be in a high wind, and we sent them a document on how to site a wind turbine, how to find a good site with good wind, away from trees and away from buildings. And we also said that there needs to be a productive use of energy, and whoever owns the wind turbine needs to be prepared to work with us for the research purposes and give us the information that we need. So we sent them that information, and with that they went out to find a community. The local officer went to 2 communities, but they weren't suitable. One was already connected to the grid, the other one was the site wasn't good, and the final one, everything seemed to be suitable. He sat down and had a meeting with the Kabele, which is the sort of local government, and the village elders, which is very important. He told them about what the project was regarding, was as transparent from the start as what we were trying to do, and they were all in agreement, and then the project was carried out. So so far so good, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see what the shopkeeper does with the additional electricity, how he can earn money, and yeah, it's a risk with any first project. You're right, because if it doesn't succeed, then it'll be difficult to do further projects. But our strategy was just to try and include as much information about expectations for the project from the start and the requirements.
Aaron,
Yes.
can I add something?
Sure.
Yes.
I would recommend also that you read about, like John said before, projects that have failed in the past, because you can learn a lot from them. I can share a few examples from Nicaragua where some projects really failed because in some cases the community was not very involved or not very interested at all, or some places were wind. So I would agree with Aaron's perspective of choosing the best community where everything is perfect, where you have wind, where you have people committed, where everything seems to be the best. So of course you want the first project to be the best, but maybe read some information on what failed in the past will give you information to not repeat the same mistakes I've done in the past. And there have been a lot.
Yeah.
So maybe I can add something.
Sure.
Yeah. So yeah, actually your answer was quite interesting, but I think that you are not, let's say, answering my question, because firstly you said that your pilot project will be close to university actually, with students and everything, so you will have like labor force and everything for free, right?
Yeah.
So you would have to teach maybe some students, but still they have education and everything. So it's not like if you are implementing a project in a local community where people maybe have a lack of education and let's say they don't care actually, they don't know about the small wind turbine,
Yeah.
So let's say that I can have let's say I have the answer. I have not the answer, but still I have some ideas, because in India I face the same problem actually.
Okay.
So I thought about that issue actually, and so we find some clues. So the first one, in my opinion, is that first you have to have a good relationship with a local politician, or let's say with local people that have some like a reputation in the village, like a prestige or something. First you have to enter in contact with these people. And the first project should be actually done with these rich people. They are not really rich, but they are richer than the rest of the community. They are rich, they are respected, they have some power, and even if sometimes you think it's not really good to work with them because sometimes they are doing very bad things. Like in India, rich farmers are paying like labor costs for very low cost, and so many farmers are working for nothing actually because they are just paid and exploited by these rich farmers. But still, if you want to do a project, you have to work with them first. So the idea is in India actually, is to implement the project with these rich farmers, to put the wind turbine close to the road as to make sure that every people that are going into the field every day in motorcycle see that wind turbine, and make sure that for the first year the wind turbine, or for the first crop, let's say, because for farming you just care about crop actually, for the first crop the system is working perfectly. And once the system is working perfectly, then hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
I think there is no feedback. Yeah. Okay. And so yes, once the system is working perfectly, then people will become interested, and so they will ask. They will ask for the system actually. They will. Some people just will say, okay, we want to buy it. We want to have it also for us, And if you work with these rich people first, so you can have like a strategy like that. Like simply, you meet that people and you said, okay, I would like to implement this project. It will be for no cost at the beginning. For 1 year, it's an experience project, so it's like total benefit for them. So you just come, you said, okay, I just want to put my wind turbine there. You will enjoy this wind turbine. So in India, it will be for water pumping. In Ethiopia, it will be for, one productive use if you find one, which will be perfect actually. Or could be also just for one household. And if this people is rich, then he will not face social issues because people will think, okay, he's rich, so he can afford this kind of system. But actually, it will not say. But this system will be for free and for experience actually. And so for 1 year, you have a very good feedback with him. Like you try to run the field like every month to see if everything is going well and everything. And this guy will be happy to work with you. He will be happy certainly to learn or to maintain the system and everything. And then as he has some prestige and some knowledge about the area, then he will help you also to implement further projects in the future. So I think like the pilot project would be also an idea to have some contacts that are already existing actually on the field, and then these local people that you don't know at the moment, they are not researchers, they are not scientists, they are just members of the communities. Then these people could become your partners for the project, and I think it's very important actually to find partners.
Sorry, two quick comments to that. One is that it's very important to consider the maintenance. So you want someone very involved with the project, that you can make sure that somebody locally will be able to do the maintenance, or if they have doubts, maybe contact you, but most of the problems they will be able to solve them themselves. And the second one is that I wouldn't give anything for free, not even the first project, because that doesn't show any commitment. You want commitment on the other side, so you always have to ask something in exchange. If you don't ask anything in exchange, then you're not sure that on the other side you have all the commitment that you need.
Yeah. Okay, Stefan. Actually, I agree. Your second question. Actually, we are discussing that at the moment. Actually, the thing is that once you make the system not for free, then people will expect some results. So if for the first system people are paying for the system, and especially if it is like rich people that can afford that system and that can pay let's say the normal fee for the system, then if something is going wrong, like it will be your first project, your pilot project, if something is going wrong, then it will start to protest and said, oh, why should I pay for a system which is not working, And the thing is that it's not real. It's not really for free actually, because this guy will become your partners in the future. So you have to consider future benefits from him. Like he will help you to implement further projects. He will bring you some information. He will be able to do some marketing also in the village, because he will be able just to discuss with all the villagers and everything. So I think I need to spend more time on that question. But actually, it's one of the of my main problem at the moment. I'm working on this. And to answer your first question, actually, yeah, for the pilot project, yeah, you definitely need to have some maintenance. So why I said rich people, because when you work with rich people, usually you avoid social issues. Like if you go directly in the field inside the communities, then once you will want to do some maintenance, then you will have all the villagers all around you, and maybe you could face like some protestation like I faced with Kimon in Nepal. So just to find like, let's say, not a remote site with only the rich and like with some army guy to protect that site. I mean, this is just less, but just to find a site where you can just access easily to do the maintenance, the testing, also to feed the system better for the local, let's say, conditions. And then after 1 year, then you can do something like this. Like you can do, you can say also, okay, so you pay for the system, but after 2 years it will be for free. You know, this is what they propose. So you can also do something like this. Actually, we are working on this issue at the moment. But I mean, there is. I think it's a point that should be also. I mean, subject to some research.
Okay, just a quick comment. I didn't mean that by saying that you shouldn't be giving them everything for free.
Yeah.
Of course, you have to be supplying a lot. If it's the first project, they will not be sure that it will work. So you will be bringing most of the stuff, but you still need to ask something, in my opinion. So maybe the tower or the foundations for the tower or batteries or something, so that the other party is committed. Of course, they will not be paying for everything, because in that case, if something fails, like you said, then you're in the problem. But still, you need to, in my opinion, you need to ask for something.
Yeah, I agree. I'm working on that actually. I'm working on that question.
There's some good feedback, Maxim. It's interesting. I suppose the Ethiopia project at the moment is very much in early stages of just identifying areas, but it hasn't even started to address the idea of how would you create a market and get people interested in. From the research that we did, no one even knows what a wind turbine is, and I think you're right. Having a wind turbine that works very well, and that's close to a road, people can walk past it. They'll come and speak to the shop owner. Hopefully they'll buy something from the shop, which increases his income. And as they buy something from the shop, they see that it's spinning and see that his lights are on, and they think that they want one. Unfortunately, I don't know about the levels of. I think the levels of wealth in India are probably slightly higher than the levels in the Somali region. The indication that I got is that I don't think anyone's going to have $5,000 for the system we installed, but even $2,000 for the system that you installed, unless it's like a village chief, for example. But someone living rurally, I don't know if that many people have got that much money. Saying that, when we spoke to some professionals and some experts, they said that people do have money. They have money for guns. They have money for farming equipment, and they should have money for this sort of energy. But for the majority, I think it's finding a way of if there's a wind turbine there, people come and pay just for the energy. For example, they can rent a battery and a light for charging phones, and they can take that back to the house, and they pay for a week's use of energy, and then they bring it back. That was one of the models that we were looking at. If it's not a productive use of a productive use of energy is selling these batteries or having like a charging station, and trying to reduce the cost of the turbine by using maybe a 1.8 machine and having a wooden tower. And as John said, it's the desert and the wind resource is pretty good, so a smaller machine would be able to produce more energy, and people paying for that. But it's increasing the awareness and creating a market, which you gave some good tips on, I think. get some people on board and then grow it from there. Yeah, I'd be really interested to see how you turn up. Out of interest, how many wind turbines has Jorge installed now? The water pumping.
For water pumping, actually, at the moment, for the site we are assessing, Vero at the moment, but he has some projects in Bangalore and in Pune. Okay. So in two other places in India, but at the moment it's just like basically a project workshop in university, you know. They just build and do some testing. So at the moment, let's say that even the system is not defined properly. You know, I mean, Jorge is doing some researches also on the technical aspect of the system. Especially, he would like to include some bamboo to make the system cheaper and lighter. Okay. So yeah, I mean, yeah, there is several technical research that are actually taking place at the moment. But yeah, so basically the answer is two. One in Pune and in Bangalore, but it's not a social project. It's a research project with university and workshop. You know.
Okay. Mm. Great. I mean, if you yeah, it'd be good to get some technical performance data, I suppose. Logging.
Yeah, but actually, there is already some research that have been done on water pumping small wind turbine in South Africa. So I have some reports that I can transmit you if you want. So we have already some, let's say not per it's not per curve, it's like how much liter you can get with this wind. We have already this kind of curve. Okay. So if you are interested in, then I can send you this.
Yeah, that would be great, Maxime. Thanks.
I mean, there is, I mean, yeah, we have already some, let's say, some paper to work on, but Jorge is always optimizing the system. You know, he does not like to take the system as it is. You know, yeah. So he's still working, and we have done some research like October and November before he came in Greece. We worked together on this testing for the water pumping system, and actually the test was not successful because the wind turbine was too. I mean, the pump was actually too big, like it was 5 kilowatt water pump, and we planned to install 2 or 3 maximum kilowatt per pump. So, I mean, the test machine was not fitted for this kind of pump, and so the test was simply a failure. Okay. But yeah, so we are doing some research on that one at the moment. But I mean, anyway, I will send you that report, and if you want to have a look, then you will.
Great.
We'll be able to. Yeah.
So we're running over time slightly. We said we'd go 2 till 4. Esteban, I know you had to go. Yeah. But I was just going to see if Isabel. I know you came late, but I was wondering if you had any comments on the report or generally the market assessment group before we finish.
I think I have no comment so far. I would like to maybe in the future have another chat to kind of get me up to date, or if maybe I have a question. Was it recorded, the whole talk?
Yes.
Yes, it's recorded. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then I think we'll just check it out, and then I might come with a one-to-one kind of question to you. Yeah. And to check what's next to do. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the idea was at the conference to get a market assessment methodology and have this published as a sort of open source toolkit if anyone wants to do a market assessment for small locally manufactured wind turbines, and then be able to offer that as a service or a consultancy through Wind Empowerment. And yeah, this Ethiopia project is the first one of those. It'll be completed in the next few months. But I suppose the next steps are to use the bits out of this to form the methodology. And I think maybe the basis of the methodology are these parameters, everything that we can think of that's involved in considering whether wind turbines are a good idea, and then for each of these parameters a bit of information about why it's important, where you can find the information, how you analyze the information, and how you present it. And then it's just a case of going through each one of these parameters for the region that you've selected, and come out with an answer of whether wind turbines are suitable or not in that particular region. And I suppose any meetings that we have in the future, we can discuss that. Okay.
Yes. I have last question, if I can. It's more a technical question for you, Aran.
Okay.
About the map that you have done in your report, especially the one with the square where you define which area is better for the wind, which area is better for the solar or hybrid system. Did you? I mean, have you done this map with Homer or with GIS?
It was a mixture of the two. So Homer gives this chart here, which gives coordinates for wind speed and solar, and I just drew a grid, and then I used these two maps. One is solar and one is wind, and then for each of position on the map, you have a look at what the solar is, which in this case is 6, and in this case, and what the wind is, and in this case is like 4 or 5, and then you use these as coordinates. So
Yes.
yeah, and then you look up in Homer, and then you just color it in.
Actually, if you want to know, I'm also doing this kind of work at the moment with some data that I found on quite a good meteorological website for India. And actually, I have hourly data for 10 years for like 79 GPS coordinates for the special area where we are working on. So I have this, like, the typical map that you are showing is like the one I'm doing at the moment. The thing is that, like, you are defining some square, right? But the thing is that, like, the GPS coordinate for me are corresponding to the intersection of all the square, not the center of the square, but one of the corner of the square, you know.
Okay.
And so then you have to do some computation, like a mean of the 4 points of the square, and then you have like the, let's say, the average wind speed for this area. So I mean, just if we could share like our work method, that would be great actually, because you have already done quite important work. So if you have like just a little paper where you are writing your workflow, you know, your method or thing like this, if you have some tips to send me, I would be very happy to know your methods for doing this kind of work from the beginning to the end, like on 1 or 2 pages. If you can do that, that would be very great actually.
Okay, what the method for getting this?
Yeah. I mean, because you told me Homer, but I'm not using Homer because I have like a 6 MB data file, and I'm quite sure that Homer will not support that. So I'm using like a more powerful statistical software, and I'm defining myself the function. And you did an important remark at the end. You said like that Homer software. I forgot my paper, but you said that Homer was quite limited for the analysis, and you could not change some parameter and things like this. So what I'm trying to do actually, basically, and this is also for wind empowerment and in the future, I'm not engineer or anything, not climatologist, or so. I mean, most of the things are very new for me, but I'm quite good at statistical analysis. So what I'm just doing at the moment is trying to define the function and everything to get the parameters and the accurate expectation for the wind speed and solar. Also, I'm trying to do a mix at the same time. So I'm both working on many functions, and I try to include the most. The most of factors that I can actually.
Okay.
And so if you could just share your method, and then I think it could help me, and then maybe I could help you in the future with my program.
Yeah, I'd be very interested in seeing what your method is, because mine was a bit slow and a lot by hand. But the thing is that I try to make it fast actually, because if you want to know, like, I'm trying to develop the method of the software, or let's say just the program that could allow me to do the same kind of analysis very quickly in the future
because wind empowerment is gathering 35 organizations. So if wind empowerment then can offer this kind of system, I would be very happy to offer like a tool that could be, I mean, just very quick actually, and yeah, like complete, let's say. So I'm trying to do that at the moment at the same time, and it's quite a big work. So what are you doing? I suppose it's like you analyze point per point, and then you do a roadmap, but it's something which is, I mean, very long to do anything like this.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to find another way to reach that result.
Yeah, I got that far as well and realised that it's quite difficult unless you know some good computing code. But yeah, I can share with you the method that I did. But the main thing is getting this graph for optimal systems from Homer, and Homer's quite a powerful tool, and it's very simple to use. So and it's free to download. So it might be worth.
What is the software you said?
It's Homer.
What is the software?
Homer Legacy.
Homer.
Yeah.
It's Homer, you said, yeah? Homer. Homer.
Right then.
Homer.
Yeah, but I mean, I have it also, but it's, I don't think that he's supporting such a big file that I have.
What's the file of wind speed?
Yeah, it's like hourly data for 10 years, so it's quite big, and for 79 GPS coordinates. And so I would like also to include the effect of correlation, like from one area to another one, the latitude effects and things like this. And so, I mean, yeah, I'm trying to do my code, I mean, let's say to have more accurate results. I don't know, because you did a remark at the end of your thesis on Homer, and I think that Homer is not powerful enough to get accurate results for hourly data and things like this.
Okay. I mean, if you need hourly data, then you probably want to.
But I have already. That's the thing.
Yeah. If you want to use it.
Sorry, there is another software that you can use that is called Hybrid 2 for hourly data.
Hybrid tool.
Hybrid 2, tool as a number.
IV2, okay.
Hybrid like hybrid systems, hybrid.
Okay, hybrid 2, okay. Okay, I will look at it. And have you heard about a software which is called Windowgrapher?
Can you write it in the comments?
Yes, actually my comment part is completely bugged, but I can write it in the document file.
Okay.
It's called Windowgrapher. And so there is a free version for 14 days. Unfortunately, mine is expired now. But if you can have a look, and because you are more expert than me actually, so if you can, I mean, I don't know if you know, I don't think you know that software, but if you can have a look on it, and like, because I think it's quite good to have quick assessment, let's say.
Okay. Okay.
And quick data analysis.
Yeah. With
But it, yeah.
I've got Homer up on the screen again. You all you can do is put a monthly average throughout the year. So you put the seasonal profile, and then for sensitivity values, you can include different values. So 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, the Weibull K, the autocorrelation factor, diurnal pattern strength, and hour of peak wind speed. And you can also put in a surface roughness to include the variation with height. That's everything that you can do, and then all it does is because you put the sensitivity values, you work it out for 6, but then you say include it for 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Then it works it out for that's what it plots on the graph. Anything from 3 until 7. Sorry, that's global solar, but there's global wind. And you do the same.
What we used when I did a master's was Homer to have a first approximation to the optimal system, like trying to optimize one particular system in one particular site. But then if you have hourly data for both resource and consumption, then you move, once you have like an approximate system, you move from Homer to Hybrid 2, and you can do more modeling to come to the perfect system in terms of how many batteries, what size of battery, how many PVs, or more parameters of like more of a specific design of the system.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, it's very good. I mean, I will have a look on this hybrid too, and I'm quite excited to see what it will look like. But you said it's powerful software though, so it should be quite heavy, no?
Yes, it's easy. It's not as easy
How
as
much
Homer.
heavy?
Homer is more user friendly.
Okay.
But it's not very complicated. Also, Aaron, I'm interested, such as Max, is in your methodology, even if it's a few bullets, on how you performed your moving from Homer to the grid to the GIS. I don't know, I'm just interested in knowing how. I know you did by hand, but just if you at some point you could share a few bullets or ideas on how you did it.
Okay.
Yeah, to me too. I'm interested in.
Okay. Well, I can send you around an explanation, but it was it's quite simple. I just drew a grid, and then looked up the values for solar and wind, and used this chart for each coordinate, and then just coloured it in with a drawing package like Paint or something.
Okay.
But
So actually, you don't need GIS at all. You just need a map, classic
need a
map
map.
and Homer, and that's all.
yeah, you get the outline of the country, put that into Microsoft Paint or whatever, draw a grid on it, and then
Yeah.
for each one, you look at that square, you see what the average solar is, you see what the average wind is, you look up the average solar, you look up the average wind, and you see what system it is, and then you colour it in, and you repeat that. And I chose quite big squares because I was lazy, but you could do it.
Yeah. No problems.
So
Okay.
I was quite embarrassed, really, because it's a bit too simple. Ideally, you want this in a GIS software, and you can input different levels, but I couldn't work out if I was just plotting. If I was just plotting something, it could be quite easy, but it's because it's a lookup table. You have to look up what this is.
Okay. Just so what is the use of GIS actually in your work?
So the GIS.
Just to get. Yeah.
I had this outline which showed where so we know that mostly in the south and the east this is where the optimal systems are, and then the GIS you can input other layers to compare this with. So the grid connection, the population density, and the the transport network, protected areas.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
there wasn't any actual specific GIS analysis. It was more sort of a general overlay of the country. These are things to consider. So it didn't get into it in that much detail. And the next section would be to have a look at this area here that's been identified as high wind, and in those areas have a look at grid connection, population, and as Esteban was saying, have a look at types of uses, productive uses, household uses.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, guys. I have to go. It's been great talking to you, and very good work, Aaron. I'm really excited about it. I'm going to try and do something similar somewhere here.
Yeah, ideally we can do a global one, or something similar for each country, and we can find out where wind turbines are needed, and then go and put them up.
You're targeting high, man.
Yeah. Wind empowerment's global domination starts with a market assessment.
Yeah, you're right.
Nice to chat
Bye,
to you,
man.
Esteban. Good luck in
Yeah.
Argentina and hopefully catch you soon, yeah?
Yeah, you too. Thanks.
Thank you, Esteban.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, I have to go too actually.
Okay.
It's 10 o'clock p.m. I have to eat something and then go to bed, and tomorrow I have to wake up at 6. So I
Okay.
mean, I should go now actually.
Say hi to
What time is
Jorge
it?
for me.
Sorry?
Say hi to Jorge for me. Are you staying in Oroville?
Yeah, in Oroville, yeah. You have been already there?
Yeah, I did the first course with Jorge. We put up the small wind turbine in Nadu Kupam and built the 3 meter turbine that he put at Windara, I think. But yeah, Oroville's an
Oh,
amazing
nice.
place. I'm very jealous.
That's very nice, very nice. I will be there 2 weeks more, and then I will have to go back in France. So that's why we try to. I mean, we are trying at the moment to finish the assessment. That's why, I mean, as fast as we can, because the time is going short now,
Okay.
and I have to go back in the south. So yeah, still a lot of work to do. But it was very enriching to have a look on your work actually, and the way your report is presented is is very good. Looks very good. Just maybe you should just include a social part, as John already said. But still, it's very good work, and thank you for that. Thank you.
Thanks, Maxime. Can you put your email address in the comments or in the? Can I have your email
Yeah, I
address?
put mine.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's done. So just if you can put yours, and then Isabel also, if you want to have access to this water pumping system report, then I can email you also.
Okay, great.
Uh, mm,
Thank you.
Thanks.
yeah, welcome.
Thanks, Maxime. See
Yeah,
you soon.
welcome. Yeah, see you.
Cheers.
It was a pleasure. Bye.
Bye. Um, so Isabel, I think it's just me and you.
Yeah, Andres is there, but I don't know. I mean, at least I see it. Is
He
it
said
true or?
he's not been able to speak to us. Are you still there, Andres? Ah, he has no mic. Okay. Well, I hope you've enjoyed listening to us, Andres. Any particular comments? Maybe you can write in the document or in the comments. Okay. Well, I suppose there's a few actions, Isabel, and sorry you couldn't make the beginning. But basically, I was just talking through the project. John gave some feedback, and then you were there for the rest of it. So I've recorded it,
Okay.
and you can listen to that afterwards.
Yeah, I will.
And maybe we should plan another.
Yeah, the step forward, like our methodology thing.
Yeah.
I am starting to get like some appointments of my own thing, but I want to plan that for next week. One with you, with more concrete possibilities, and then we make an appointment with the others in the same idea. But at least so that we can propose something and then just see what follows. Do you agree?
Okay. Well, so just we have a meeting, just the two of us.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, no problem.
Maybe, yeah, maybe John also, but I think it would be better just like, yeah, to align some sort of thoughts and then just propose a meeting with steps forward, but with more concrete things like, yeah, for example, the students that were proposed from John's side, I don't know what happened there, if there was someone popping up or not, or if, yeah, many things can be done, but I think we need to start by brainstorming what would be. And yeah, I also got like an email. I don't know if it was through you or another person, but someone contacted me, and this person apparently has some study going on in Burkina Faso,
Okay.
and they want to see possibilities for wind energy in rural areas.
Ah, okay.
And yeah, I think that's a great possibility to have a second
Market assessment.
test of all of the market assessment.
Yeah.
But we need some local organization, and I am going to talk to a lady who has some solar NGO. She's a Dutch girl,
Yeah.
and she has thing going on actually in Burkina Faso. It's very like a very funny coincidence because I'm talking to her to get just like my own coaching procedure to see where am I going to work in the future and things like that.
Yeah.
But then it was at the same time, so I will talk to her next Tuesday, and then I will ask her how if that would be possible for her NGO to network another group of people and maybe assess this situation, because she already has some sort of solar thing going on. Maybe she can broaden it into wind combination with solar, and we can maybe offer these people some sort of support to do their own project.
Okay.
But that's just like a brainstorming thing that I have. I need to just talk to her first to see if it's there actually a possibility to have people there. And otherwise, I would just invite this person for the next meeting that we will plan to get his point of view and his like proposal of his situation, so that he actually maybe in a more direct way asks for what he needs.
Okay.
So that's that's one thing I have. But further, I think it's more like we need to establish our own goals and try to make a plan to achieve them.
Yeah, something a bit more defined, and we can split up the tasks between the group.
Yeah.
If anyone else wants to get involved, there's specific tasks that they can find out, have some regular meetings, and really see some progress. It's been a bit disjointed over the Christmas time, and apologies that I've been away. But
it's okay. I mean, don't
yeah.
do your own work.
Yes, but what day do you want to meet up tomorrow? Next week then?
A sec. Give me. I come back. Wait. Yes. Meeting for next week could be Wednesday, or because I talked to her on Tuesday, in the middle of the day, and then maybe on Wednesday, if you have time, 11th.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking on Wednesday. Is it okay for you?
Wednesday. Yeah, that's fine.
At what time?
I have no commitments, so any time is free.
Okay. What if we do it at 10 o'clock in the morning?
Okay. UK time, or where are you at the moment?
I'm in the Netherlands. I came back at the middle of January, so the 16th I was back, and so I'm in Den Haag.
Okay.
So yeah, I have 1 hour plus yours, so that would mean that the meeting would be at 9 for you, 9 a.m., 10 for me.
9 a.m. Wednesday.
With that, yeah.
Perfect. Okay. I'll send over the recording of this and we can chat next week.
Great, yeah, please.
Okay, thanks Isabel. See you soon.
Yeah, see you soon. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
How do I go out of here?